Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. Today on this program, we're going to turn the focus on the Indian economy, which is supposed to be one of the bright spots right now in the entire global economy. But if you look at what many industrialists and others are concerned about, it's where is the reform process going? This should have been the point when reforms were really chugging ahead in full swing. But if you think about it, Land Bill, of course, has been a U-turn. GST, who knows whether it's going to go through at all. Labor reforms, what happened there? Are we moving or are we not moving? That's the big question we're going to be addressing. And also, what does all of this mean for the Indian economic story? And we've got some of the top experts to join us and tell us what they think about all this. Great pleasure to welcome onto our program from Bangalore, Professor Ashutosh Varshney, who's the director of the India Initiative at Brown University. Thanks for being with us. Also joining us, a prominent voice from corporate India, Vinita Bali, who was till recently running Britannia. Ramdev Agarwal, Joint Managing Director, Motilal Oswal Financial Services, is joining us from Mumbai. Right here in the studio with us, Manish Tiwari, spokesperson of the Congress Party, P.N. Vijay, spokesperson of the BJP, been very closely involved in looking at their economic planning and economic thinking as well. Mohammad Ali Khan, one of the people who helped to draft the 2013 Land Bill, which looks as if that's a Land Bill which we are back to right now. But I'm going to try and ask you as to where we are in all the fine print of this. And M.K. Venu is executive editor of the Amar Ujala Group. Thank you all so much for being with us. Why don't I kick off with you, Professor Varshney? Are you concerned about the reform process in India and what this means for the Indian economy?
Yes. When Mr. Modi came to power, most of us expected that there will be a big push on economic reforms. On the whole, since 1991, India has had reforms by stealth. And those reforms which were in elite politics, for example, investment liberalization, for example, capital market liberalization, they did go through. But those reforms which concerned the masses directly, not indirectly, labor law, land acquisition, retail trade, those were always full of conflict, and Mr. Modi was expected to make a case that these reforms would benefit the masses, and that has not happened. He has not made that case, and now because of what has happened in Parliament, I think the reforms of India, at least for the next few months, are in trouble.
Vinita Bali, would you agree with that assessment?
I think overall, I do agree. We've got to put the agenda in perspective. There's a political agenda, an economic agenda, and a social agenda. And I think Ashutosh is absolutely right in what he said. I think the reform process is happening at an excruciatingly slow pace. We also have to look at the other side and say, are there any structural things that are happening in the economy? For example, the stimulation for investment-led growth, which was another thing that, candidate Modi had said before he was elected. And, I think at some stage, Vikram, during the course of this discussion, we must revisit and see what is happening to the big push in infrastructure investment, which was again going to be a propelling force for the economy.
Slightly gloomy assessments of what's happening, and you must also be, first let's look at the facts of what's happening and then we'll figure out who's to blame for what's happening. So would you agree with the fact of it that the reform process is looking in trouble right now?
Yes, we are surely concerned that the agenda with which we set out to rule this country has been to some extent derailed. We had a wish list, and it's not going on at the pace with which we would like it to. That's surely. What's responsible for that, etc., that's another matter. We wish it were faster. But having said that, I don't think you should think of the economy and reforms as synonymous. Okay, that's a very big mistake that people do. The Indian economy, touchwood, is doing reasonably well. Just to give you a data points, Adrian Modwat, the highly respected head of research at JP Morgan, who is, I think, the most respected figure today in the international research community, not only says India is the fastest growing economy in the world, but is the best investment destination for this year and next year. I mean, when he says something, people listen. Also, the Moody's in the July report.
But can I just interrupt? Yeah.
Yeah. What I want
I would
to
agree with him, by the way. But can I just say something that actually, in a way, that makes our present situation sadder, because this could have been
yes.
this could have been India's big moment in the sun.
Vikram.
If you look around at the global economy, China's in trouble, Europe is in trouble, Japan is facing a severe debt problem. Okay, America is doing well, but by and large, most of the global economy is in a mess. Brazil, Russia. This could have been the moment where India would have been the big shining star.
Vikram,
Had we got our, and even today, if we can get our act together, India could be the big shining star.
I couldn't agree with you more. Let me say,
So we are
you
missing an
are
opportunity right now.
200% right. We are looking at the world is looking at us, 25% increase in FDI. The likes of BMW, Google, Microsoft, Foxconn, talking about hundreds of $1 billion in the next 2 years. Our young people sitting here would get jobs in urban agglomerates. Why is all this not happening? It's time for us to retrospect. Are we talking like a nation when it comes to the economy? Or are we going to talk like a nation only when it comes to Pakistan firing at India? We have to have a consensus on economic issues.
Okay.
This is the deal.
It's your government. Why aren't you doing it?
We are trying our best. We are not able to do it.
Why not?
I don't know. Secular forces.
Oh, so okay.
We are a communal force.
I guess he's pointing at you that they're not being able to do all of this because you're blocking it. You're not allowing Parliament to function.
Yeah.
The GST, which is a bill that we all agree is going to add percentage points to India's economy, it is something that could make a dramatic difference to the lives of
Mr.
people.
Chidambaram brought it. Hats off to him. Great man.
And you're blocking it.
It's the job of the government to get Parliament to function. And those principles have been unfortunately cast in stone by the current government when they were in opposition, and sanctified by the very hallowed prophecy of the current finance minister that disruption is a legitimate parliamentary tactic. So therefore, we want Parliament to function. We want that there should be a discussion, a debate on issues. We want legislation to go through, but there is a caveat. And that caveat is that the government needs to listen. The government needs to be forthcoming on issues which the opposition is raising. And therefore, if the government decides not to be forthcoming and decides to be cussed, therefore you've sowed the wind, you'll reap the whirlwind.
Well, okay, so we spent a fair amount of time in previous episodes of The Big Fight also sitting and looking at Parliament disruption and whether it's good or whether it's bad. But this essentially what the Congress seems to be saying.
Everybody agrees it's bad. Congress is saying we are
right? Here you have a situation, I'm just going to give you two quotes. You have Arun Jaitley saying, if my friends in the Congress who are not in the House allow the implementation of GST, which was introduced by the Congress party, you will have a uniform tax rate, one market, and it's capable of boosting economy by 1 to 2%. Yeah. Just about everyone agrees with this, by the way. Yeah. And the Congress party says, if heavens didn't fall when the BJP blocked the GST from 2006 to 2014, the earth will not crack up if the bill is not passed for another session at least. It's not passed for another session, it means maybe another year it's held up.
May I, Vikram, just before you go to Venu, also point out that the GST, which the current finance minister is now making a swan song of, if you go back to the former prime minister's interaction with the electronic media, he actually articulated that the BJP leaders came to him and told him that the GST will not go through till the time the Samjhauta Express investigation does not stop. So therefore, the GST was not being blocked on its merits. So the GST was being blocked on collateral issues.
Vikram,
that's, you know, so therefore,
this is the mindset that all of us have to change.
This is what they did.
This is, you see, what's happening.
Had to change. Yeah.
What's happening? Congress is saying, when we were in power, you blocked Parliament. At that time, we said, we are blocking because when Atalji was in power, you blocked Parliament. Then when Atalji was in power, they said, because when Narasimha Rao was in power, you blocked Parliament. Now we are saying Rajiv Gandhi threw out 89 MPs. I mean, the people of India want jobs.
No, and the people
of
India, by the way, the people of India by now,
you have to break the deadlock. You can't behave with arrogance on my way or the highway. The fact remains that there are sensitive issues which have been articulated. After all, 43 people have died For God's sake, 43 accused and witnesses have been slaughtered in the Vyapam scam. And if the government is not prepared to listen to that, then, you know...
Which newspaper is he reading?
What do you mean, which paper is he reading? Go and read the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, I will not allow another witness to die. And these guys are not prepared to listen.
Okay.
They're not prepared to get
Ramdeo Agarwal, Vinu, before I come to you.
And they want
Ramdeo Agarwal joining us. Ramdeo, I want to ask you, given everything that's happening around us, do you think the reform process is, if not dead, is at least on the back burner for the moment? And if so, what does that imply for the Indian economy?
If big reforms don't happen, there is going to be, slowdown or repercussions, whatever follows. But I think if you look at that, what has been achieved in last 12, 13 months is not so bad. I mean, whether it is a fiscal prudence. I mean, one of the things is that fiscal prudence, push to infrastructures, ease of doing business. At least the focus on ease of doing business. A lot of these things have been achieved. One of the biggest things is that corruption in Delhi, I mean, at the high places, is clearly come to us. I mean, I would not say eliminated completely, but I mean, the people who are in know of things, they say that it is completely come to a halt. That itself is a huge achievement for a year. In India, in politics, people have to show that they are opposing each other. But in the evening, all of them are together. So far, we have made more progress than what it was being made on a yearly basis by the earlier government. And I think the determination I see with the government and the commitment which they have, I think they will achieve a lot more. And I remain optimistic that in next 6 to 8 months, a year, things will be far better and different than what we have seen recent times. But of course,
Vinu, you saw PM Vijay also expressing a certain amount of unhappiness with what is happening and why we can't move forward. But Ramdeo gives it a slightly different spin also, that, okay, look, set aside the big ticket, labor reforms, GSTs, land bills for a moment. On the ground, there is a certain amount of progress that has been made. Would you agree with that? And if that continues, then maybe the Indian economy is not going to be doing that badly.
Yeah, Vikram, there's a business as usual case which will give you 6% growth. About that,
he's saying it's more than business as usual. You've gone ahead.
I differ with him. I'll tell you why. In the last 1 year, a lot of expectations were raised, a lot of reforms were promised. A full 1 year wasted on land bill. And if you remember, Arun Shourie on record said that he had advised Mr. Modi that just leave this to the states. They didn't do it. They thought they would push it through. Push the ordinance through. Thrice they repromulgated the ordinance. It didn't work. So they wasted 6-7 months, a lot of parliamentary time, energy. I thought that if they just focused on GST at that time and left the land bill aside, they would have been far more, they would have got much better outcome. Number two, Vikram, forget about these big ticket reforms. In fact, the word reform itself, I sometimes feel much abused. The biggest problem which many foreign analysts have pointed, including Chris Wood of CLSA and others, is the huge, non-performing assets or restructured assets in the banking system, which is coming the way of any forward movement, coming the way of more credit. The SBI chairman is saying she can't reduce interest rates because they are all suffering from these big holes in the balance sheet.
There are a lot of things that could be done.
Here I want to come to what Ramdev said, that there is no corruption. Now, for me, corruption is something different. You know, this crony capitalism is there in the system. It's not about individuals. So those bad assets,
big ticket corruption, ministers asking for large sums of money to clear.
No, I'll give you one simple piece of data. The top 6 or 7 big corporate houses who are in infrastructure, etc., have run up debts of some 4 lakh crore, and the total banking capital is 5.5 lakh crores. 75% of banking capital today is lying in the books of these people, and it's not going anywhere.
I'm going to come. Please, let me just pause.
Vikram, if this is not solved, infrastructure investment will not take off.
Okay, I just want to come back to the bigger picture. Let's first look at what has happened in the big ticket items, and then we're going to come to how the economy could actually be unclogged. Even today, even if Parliament is held up, there are a lot of things that you could be doing, PN Vijay, and we will maybe try and outline some of them for you. But let's come back to those big items. Land bill. virtually, is it, now that you've seen this, is it pretty much what you had drafted some time back?
Well, actually,
What they've come back to? After all of this effort, all of this drama, so much expansion of political capital, are we back to what you, Mr. Khan, drafted?
I would say we're almost there, sir. Actually, this is
Are you happy about it, by the way? I mean,
very
was your
happy,
draft,
very happy. We stood,
was your a
we
good
stood by
draft?
our
Your
draft.
draft has been attacked bitterly
Right.
all these years.
Absolutely.
As holding back the Indian economy.
And
Now
yet
that
it
your
has
draft
withstood
is...
that test. But what I'm saying is that
You don't know what
Stood
the
the
states will do,
test?
no?
no, but I don't know what the states
Yeah, you don't know
will do.
whether the states are going to rewrite your
We've
law.
actually spoken about that as well. But first and foremost, from the very outset, from January itself, when they promulgated this ordinance, we told them that this is a mistake. This was a mistake for two reasons. One, they underestimated the lack of support that they would get on the ground. They figured that the constituency of those who would be opposed to this bill was limited only to the Congress. It turned out to be much larger than they had anticipated. Secondly, the way that they went about it, ordinance after ordinance after ordinance, undermining every constitutional measure available to them, in itself was a testament to how this government gets things done. The other worry, and this is speaking to what Vijay sir was saying earlier, is that the biggest weaknesses of this government is not so much the opposition, but their lack of understanding of how government procedures function. I agree that you guys have a very large majority in Parliament, undoubtedly, but there are procedures that have to be followed, procedures that the Congress party did follow while it was in power, procedures that you seem to disregard. For example, sending bills to standing committees. You cannot introduce bills on the floor of Parliament and ask them to be passed ipso facto. They must be vetted by an expert committee.
Okay.
You did not do that.
In retrospect, do you agree with what Venu was saying, that perhaps too much political capital was expended on what was always going to be a very, very contentious issue? The land bill, when they passed the land bill, when his version of the land bill was passed, it was virtually by a large amount of unanimity. It was a really difficult thing to go for. Maybe if you would focus your attention on something else, you wouldn't have been forced into this U-turn.
Let me say from my party's side, we are concerned that the land bill has not been passed. Okay, but it is absolutely wrong, and we can give you data on this ad nauseum, that this was not the only thing we were doing. As Ramdev Agarwal was doing, we have been doing things on 10 different fronts. We looked at the ease of doing business. We were 143 in the list of 190. There were 5 places which brought us down: taxation, entry into India, environment, then enforcement of contracts. How do you enforce contracts in this country? Clinically, we have been going at each of these items. Land was one thing, but land is not the only thing. And
But
reforms in this country will go on without or with the land.
So you're right, and this is what Ramdev was saying, that yeah, there are other parts of reform,
Many
not just the
things,
big things
Ram,
that are
many
making the
things,
headlines.
yeah.
I get that. Professor Varshney, you wrote a short while back, Modi's legitimacy, you said, has been declining for some time. Modi's surplus has eroded in less than a year and a quarter. We had others also talking about how whatever is happening in reforms is affecting the Prime Minister's image. We've had Swaminathan Iyer saying things like the land acquisition fiasco reveals him, that is Prime Minister Modi, as frightened and indecisive. He presides over a pathetic sense of drift, defensiveness, and a lack of conviction. Pratap Bhanu Mehta in the Indian Express says, no matter how eloquent, the Prime Minister's own drumbeat cannot disguise the rot he is letting seep in. All of this perception, do you think it is really arising from what's been happening on these big ticket items like the land bill? Because in a sense, Ramdev Agarwal is right. On the ground, a lot of other things have happened which are somehow escaping people's notice. It's because the headlines have been focused on, here's the land bill, we're trying to force the land bill through, and now we've had to do a U-turn on it.
I think they claim that on ease of doing business, on administrative simplification, Mr. Modi's government has taken a lot of steps. I think that's correct. I think that's not in dispute. And therefore, you should expect the growth rate, I think Venu is right, you should expect the growth rate to be 6.5. That's not at issue. With an investment rate of 30% plus minus, you will get a growth rate of 6 to 7%. I think the real issue was whether Mr. Modi's regime could lift Indian economy from 6 to 7% to 9% or so. And that's where the big ticket items, the big ticket reforms will be necessary. And it was expected that he would use his great surplus legitimacy, this honeymoon period, which gives all all governments in democracies everywhere elected with a big majority or elected with a majority at least, or an unexpected majority, that surplus legitimacy that any government has in the first year, year and a half to 2 years, that's what gives you the room to push big reforms. So smaller reforms have been pushed and they'll give you 6 to 7%. Big reforms which Mr. Modi could have pushed, he has not been able to, and there's a complex politics associated with that. And that's what the disappointment is.
No, but do you think the effort
Despite,
was made...
for example, Mann Ki Baat, he has Mann Ki Baat, he can explain to large audiences. Yeah.
So do you think he was pushing the wrong big reform? Because land was a big reform, but maybe the wrong big reform. Maybe he should have been pushing GST, maybe he should have been pushing labor reform, maybe he should have been pushing other things like that. Vinita Bali, on that note, was land the wrong issue to expend so much political capital on?
Yeah, I think we had to get to land reforms, but should that have been the first thing we take on and take it on in the manner in which it was taken on? I actually think that was a mistake. I think there is enough low-hanging fruit in the Indian economy, which this Prime Minister and the Cabinet and the bureaucracy, if we had started addressing a lot of those, we would have seen not such a tepid rate of growth. I also want to change the narrative a little bit. You know, we talk a lot about land reforms and so on. We've just seen June quarter results, and I think out of the 800 companies that have declared their results, we're talking on average a top-line growth of 3%. Now, when you put that in the context of fairly benign commodity prices, declining oil prices, and so on and so forth, I think another big concern that we should focus on is that if consumption is not going to drive India's growth, and if we are not going to be able to balance consumption-led growth with investment-led growth, we're actually going to create an even greater sense of overpromise and under-delivery.
Okay.
Manish wanted to say something.
No, all I wanted to say was that, even when you look at the economic numbers, somehow the math does not add up. You've changed the base year, so therefore that is giving you a certain amount of a buoyancy, which may be a completely artificial buoyancy, because if you look at the data which the Department of Economic Affairs puts out every month, for almost 4 months now, 8 core sectors of infrastructure have recorded negative growth. Broad money supply has been down, exports are down, imports are down, so therefore all the broad parameters of the Indian economy are really not looking good. Okay, so therefore what the Prime Minister is saying, or what the government is saying, is, if you juxtapose it against the data which the government is putting out itself, the picture doesn't add